everybody, it's Christy here again with another process video. First I want to say thank you for watching, and your likes are always appreciated, and if you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button, and then if you ding the bell next door, it will notify you whenever I post a new video, and you can choose, you know, personalized or every video or whatever. So anyways, thanks for joining me. And in my last process video, I had shared with you that I fussy cut all of these labels out from this Pinkfresh Studio paper, pattern paper from Joyful Day. And so I did not use them as intended on my last layout. So my intention is to use them here. I've been brainstorming and kind of came up with somewhat of an idea. We'll see. I always have ideas in my mind, and then when I start putting them on paper, it just never seems to look the same. So we'll see. These are the pictures I'm deciding between. I've got this picture, which is from the same shoot that I did on my first process video, and this picture, which is basically the exact same, one of the exact same pictures, except this one's in color. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go with black and white or color, new picture or repeat picture in color. So anyways, we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna put you on fast forward and we will see how it turns out. All right. So the first thing I did was put all of my labels down on the background paper in rainbow order in a diagonal across the page. Then I got my Liquitex white gesso and spread it with my Vicki Boutin scraper across the page, and I made sure to cover the page really good, especially in between the labels, so that the color would be the same and even across the labels and the background paper. So take a minute here and make sure that it's done really well. You'll see my head kind of pop over, make sure that it's between the labels. So off camera, I did a bunch of playing around with modeling paste here in the corner, and the stencil was just really not working. It was moving all around and the images were blurred. So I went ahead and scraped it all off, but that led to this problem here. You see the color is super saturated, and it's not moving around the page like I wanted it to. And I was getting kind of frustrated. It was really bright, and I wasn't really wanting really bright, and the modeling paste just made the shimmers kind of stubborn to move. So I'll play around here for a minute, and then I just get frustrated. So I had to let each section dry so that the colors didn't mix. So here I am putting some mustard seed, and then the hint of mint, which is a new Shimmerz color. I also add some Heidi Ho blue and some Jenny B blue. I was getting like a little eyelash off of the background paper there with my tweezers. And then the last color I'll add here at the bottom is Rip Van Periwinkle, which is also a new Shimmerz color. So after I get it all how I like it, I am just distracted by this corner. So I decided to add some peach, which doesn't help at all. It doesn't move around the page. So what I end up doing is taking some acrylic paint, adding some water, and then spreading it and painting across this section to kind of lighten it up. And then I'm kind of happier with how it looks. The middle section still has a lot of different colors that I didn't like. Some of the colors mixed, and I just wasn't satisfied. So I'm trying to find something to put over that. So I found this piece, which is from a Studio Calico kit when they were still doing scrapbook kits, and I'm applying some of my clear embossing ink to the top of that, and then I'm putting the Nuvo gold glitter embossing powder, and I'm heating it up. And I just love watching the embossing powder heat up and melt. It's just fascinating to me. So I do this over that, and then I do the bottom as well. Here in a minute, you'll see me stick my finger in it, and then I tried to heat it up to try to melt it some more. So there's the finished product. I did 3 layers of the embossing powder. I decided to use this piece that was left over from my last layout that I did, my last process video, to cover some of that section that I wasn't happy with. So that just kind of makes me smile because I was happy that it covered those parts, because I just didn't like how it was going and I didn't want to throw the whole thing out. So off camera, I added some gold stitching across some of the labels, and you can see it. I didn't do all of them, but I did, kind of a few of them. So I decided on the black and white picture, just because I liked the way that it went with this background. I felt like the color was just competing with the colors in the background. So these are Project Life cards from the Hip Kit Club February kit. And these, I trimmed down my picture just a little bit. I also backed it with tissue paper. I used my edge distressor, tongue twister. Sorry, it's late here. To distress the edges of the Project Life cards. And that is from Close to My Heart. I also used this frame. I cut a piece off so that it wouldn't overlap on the butterflies. And then this piece is an acrylic piece from Jen Scow, and I just love this piece, and I finally found the layout I would love to use it on. So that's what that is. It says All the Feels. And this pattern paper is from Joyful Day, and I just wanted to point out the papers that I was going to use. What I end up doing is punching some 1.5-inch circles out of some of the papers, or the little squares, I'm sorry, to use around the page. So I thought I was going to use the This Is Us, but I end up not using that. So I'm laying down the pictures and putting my adhesive. I put some of my foam in between the frame so that it would pop the picture up off of the page. And I added a little foam to All the Feels so that it was even with the picture. It was kind of tricky getting that thin enough so you didn't see it underneath. Sorry, there's my head again. So I'm putting the adhesive on, and that is some Scotch Quick Dry in my fine liner bottle. And I get that bottle at Hobby Lobby in the toy car section, and then the Scotch Quick Dry, I just fill it as I need it. Here I am messing with some of the little pieces. I cut out the squares and I'm cutting them or punching them with my circle punch and adding it here that says Always Better Together. I also added, as you saw, those thickers, which is like an old Valentine's thicker set. I think it's called Caroline. And I added those hearts and also the hearts from the Joyful Day puffy stickers that has all the titles on it. I added that. I added that fabric banner as well as some of the die cuts from the Joyful Day collection. I cut a piece of the paper off on the top because I just wanted to add something over here to the corner because I felt like there was a lot of empty space. I'm using some, again, watered down acrylic paint to kind of mute down those colors. And that brush is from Jane Davenport. I believe I got it at Michael's with a coupon or when it was on sale. So I added that piece. It's just the labels. I thought that would look cute peeking out from the top. And I'm adding or trying to add a little cluster up here. And I was like bound and determined to use the This Is Us piece, and it just wasn't working. I think because of the oval shape and I had so many circles, I just wasn't liking how it was coming out. So I end up cutting those little flowers on that piece. You'll see me fussy cut those out, and I'll go ahead and use a different circle up at the top. I'll punch another circle out of that Joyful Day pattern paper. I cut this little tab label in half, and I tucked it in between the white cardstock and that little piece of paper. I cut the little tabs off of this ribbon, and I ended up using more acrylic paint and muting the colors because it was really bright and it wasn't matching. So I used those, tucked it behind there. Here we go. I finally found what I wanted to add up there. I also tuck in some of the puffy stickers that match the floral that's underneath the banner, and I tuck that behind the picture. And then I will also tuck some up at the top in that cluster as well. Yeah, I think I add it here. Yeah, here we go. And I add the flowers underneath. Another thing that I did was add some of these epoxy dots, or enamel dots around the page to add that pop of yellow. There's one in each cluster by the hearts. These pieces are another piece from Studio Calico. They're a bunch of ampersands, and so I end up taking this small one and doing the same thing that I did with the butterfly veneer and adding a couple layers of that embossing powder. I printed my journaling out and cut it into strips. I just used Word and cut it out. And the nice thing about Word is that anything that you use for the Silhouette store, any of those fonts are available in Word. And so I'm just adding the strips here using my Scotch Quick Dry, making sure they're straight with my T-square ruler. I'm like getting a little too obsessive about this, I think. But anyways, just wanted to make sure it was straight. And that Quick Dry, I always use it. It's great. And you still have enough time to move the elements around before they dry, but it does dry relatively quickly. I'm gluing the things down because, as I noticed when I picked it up, there was a lot of pieces that were like flopping off. So I add some liquid glue to make sure everything's secure, and little finishing touches here and there. I'm really happy with how this came out. I'm using this, I have this teeny tiny date stamp that I got on Amazon. I'll try to link it below, and I add that, and I was pleased with how this turned out. It didn't start the way I wanted it to, but it ended up looking great in the end. Here I'm just putting some Heidi Swap Gold Color Shine. I had to shake it up quite a bit, and then kind of just adding little splotches all around the, a couple, I guess, in the clusters. So there's 3 spots. I'm using my paper towel to kind of dry it up a little bit, so it's a little bit less intense. Made sure to cover my picture so that I didn't have gold splotches on my black and white picture. Here's some close-ups I wanted to show you slowly, and then I also used some of the Cartabella chipboard. So thanks for watching. You're going to get some close-ups, and I really appreciate